Hi, welcome to your Prenatal Yoga virtual classroom. Before we begin, I just have a couple of things I want to address. Today, as we practice, you're going to notice that I don't have any music on. And if you've taken my classes before, you know that I always have a playlist. Well, today with this, what I encourage you to do is either practice in silence and find a quiet space in that way, or you can choose to create your own playlist or begin to create your own playlist. The beauty of doing this is that you can begin to connect with the sounds and the music that is calming and peaceful for you. And hopefully, what I hope for you is that then you're going to draw that into your birth process. So eventually it can be a playlist that becomes your birth playlist, and that will reconnect you to this quiet, calm space. The second thing, I want to, before we begin, to address pubic symphysis pain, because I'm not there with you, so I can't talk to you to find out what you have going on. Pubic symphysis pain is pain directly in your pubic bone, right in the front of your pubic bone. It almost feels like a really sore muscle. And if you're having this kind of pain, then you're going to want to take note when I make little modifications for the poses that we do. And I want you to be very, very mindful of your body with that. With that said, the third thing, listen to yourself. Practicing at home means that you have to listen to yourself, because I'm not there to notice if maybe you shouldn't be going so deep, or maybe you need support under your head in a pose or something like that. So make sure that you listen to yourself and really honor where you're at. If you've been in my class before, you've heard me say, you can come to my class and just lay down on the mat. I don't care. So if today you find that as we practice, there's something that doesn't serve you, leave it out. If you find that you need to challenge yourself a little more and you know how to do that in a safe way, then challenge yourself. Create your own practice as you practice with me today. All right, so we will begin. So we're starting in just a comfortable seated position. This is Sukhasana, or easy pose, but this pose isn't easy for everyone. So I encourage you to find a pose that is comfortable. If you know other yoga poses that feel right for you, then start in something like that. But this is how I'm going to start today. So close your eyes, or just set your gaze soft, whatever feels more accessible to you. And we're just going to begin to slow down. Beginning to slow the mind, giving ourselves permission to be here now, to be in this quiet space. Beginning to slow the breath. Allowing the breath to drop low into the belly, feeling the belly expand and the baby pressing forward. And as you exhale, gently hugging the baby in towards the spine. As you inhale, feel the lift and the expansion that the breath allows you. And maintaining that length, begin to soften as you exhale. Begin to soften through your forehead, your cheeks, your throat, letting the shoulders relax down the spine. And as you maintain your length, with each exhale, as you soften, begin to feel more rooted to the earth. Now bring your focus to your baby. Maybe you'd even like to just place your hands to your belly and begin to find that connection, softening into this space with them, honoring this quiet time with them, this time that is so fleeting. And take a moment to remind yourself that right now your baby is as close to your heart as they'll ever be. And just soak that in. before we begin practice, take a moment to set an intention for yourself. One word or a few words, something simple, something that will ground you today in your practice, but maybe it's also something that you can draw into your birth process. Something that as you are in your birth process will draw you back to this quiet space, your deep breath, and your connection with your baby. From here, you can keep your eyes closed, or you can begin to open them and just begin to find movement through the neck. Whatever kind of movement feels good for you. So much of being pregnant and going through our birth processes, no matter what they look like, so much of that is finding the movement that feels good for us, right? And connecting with our bodies. So just begin to roll the neck around. If you find an area that calls your name, that needs a little extra attention, go ahead and stay with it. Continue breathing deeply. And then slowly find your way back to center. Good. Now, placing your hands just onto the knees or above the knees on the thighs, we're just going to begin to create movement through the rib cage. So creating circles with the rib cage, almost like you're circling the pelvis. And just breathing deeply as you move. And then reversing directions. Slowly finding your way back to center. Let's go ahead and set the fingertips out to the side. Turn the left palm up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lifting the arm, and exhale, reaching over. Noting that this is not a sinking through the lower side body. This is a lengthening through that upper side body. Reaching with the fingertips. If it feels accessible, you can begin to gaze upwards towards the sky. One more breath here. On your next inhale, reach the arm up and lower it down. Turn the right palm up now, and let's inhale, reaching up, and exhale, reaching over. Rotating that right shoulder back slightly, creating that nice stretch through the side body. And again, if it feels accessible, set your gaze up towards the sky. And inhale, reaching up. Exhale, lowering down. Good. All right, so we are going to just roll up onto hands and knees. Okay, and you can, if you need, place a blanket under your knees. Okay, I always use one under my knees because I have knee issues. So on hands and knees, wrists are below shoulders, knees are below hips, but actually maybe wider than hips, depending on where you're at in your pregnancy. So here we'll breathe as you inhale, lower the belly and gaze up. As you exhale, draw the tailbone under, arch through the spine, chin towards the chest. Following your own breath pace here, inhale, lowering the belly, gazing upward. Exhale, draw the tailbone under, arch through the spine. So continue breathing here and be conscious that this movement is rooted in the spine, in the base of the spine, So the wave of the spine happens with the tailbone moving all the way up to the crown of the head. So do a few more breaths here. If this is good, then pause this video and just keep rolling. I once had a midwife tell me that you should do these like 30 in the morning, 30 at lunch, and 30 at night. So just keep doing this. And if you're nearing the end of your pregnancy, then note that if you feel baby moving around, you can get on hands and knees and do these pelvic tilts, and that helps to encourage baby into a good position. Interesting stuff. So let's just do a few more breaths here. Inhale and exhale. If your mind is wandering, gently nudge it back to the mat. Okay, and then after your last inhale, exhale, we're gonna meet back in a neutral spine on the mat. So here we're gonna work into downward facing dog, and we're gonna create a flow that I hope will be simple and something that you'll be able to take into your own home practice. So we're gonna practice downward facing dog. I'm actually gonna remove my blanket just because I don't wanna trip over it. Okay, so with wrists below shoulders, knees below hips, but maybe actually wider than hips, right? We're gonna first make note of that neutral spine. So when we're pregnant, we naturally, our belly wants to hang, right? What I want you to do is to root the tailbone under, hugging the baby up towards the spine without arching the back. So we're just creating that nice neutral spine here, okay? Ground through the ball mount of the pointer and the thumb. Tuck the toes under. As you inhale, you'll lift the knees. Keep the knees bent as you begin to press the hips back in space, bringing the head, neck, and spine in line. Okay, if you find that all of your weight is in your wrists, then you may need to put a deeper bend in the knee to be able to press the hips back just a little bit further. So breathe here. Continue breathing. And if you feel any lightheadedness at all, you want to immediately come down out of this pose. Otherwise, hang out here for one more breath. And as you exhale, lower the knees down. We're gonna bring the knees wide, big toes together, and shift the hips back, coming into child's pose. Here, I encourage you to roll out the hands, move the fingers, roll the wrists, okay? And then we're gonna come back up and do it again. Okay, so again, now we're creating a flow here that in a moment, you're gonna work at your own pace, right? And again, if you like this and you wanna keep rolling with it, pause the video and do it as many times as you want. So from here, we're gonna ground through the ball mount of pointer and thumb, tuck the toes under. Make sure you have that neutral spine by rooting the tailbone under slightly. Inhale, lift the knees, and as you exhale, press the hips back in space, bringing the head, neck, and spine in line. Keep breathing here. And remember, if you find movement here that feels good, don't be afraid to move. Press back through one heel and the other, move the hips, and just keep breathing here. So something to note is if you are 36 weeks or beyond, I encourage you only to take 3 breaths in this pose and then exhale and release. So make note of that if you are in that last 4 weeks of your pregnancy. So continue doing this. You're going to be inhaling and exhaling in your downward facing dog, and then following an exhale, you'll lower the knees down, bring the knees wide, big toes together, and shift back into child's. If you are in a space that child's no longer feels comfortable for you, you can always just come down onto your elbows as opposed to shifting all the way back. So you find the space that this feels good for you. So let's go ahead, if you're up in a down dog, take a moment to press back into child's, lower down and press back into child's. Take just a moment here. And then we're gonna practice this last down dog together before we move into standing. So remember that grounding through ball mount of pointer and thumb. Tuck the toes under. Inhale, lift the knees. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. So from here, we're going to use down dog to come into standing. So we're going to begin to walk the hands towards the feet. Something to make note of is as we rest here for a moment, take some deep breaths, and then we're going to come up on the inhale. So putting a generous bend in the knees, inhale and begin to ragdoll up on the inhale. Any dizziness, come right back down to the floor. All right, so now we're standing. Go ahead and shake it out. I didn't really make note of the props, but everything I have here, you can find at home, just in your own way. You can use books for blocks. I have a tennis ball here. If you already have children, you probably have lots of these around. If you don't, just find some type of a ball, and you can replace a bolster with a pillow. Easy peasy. All right, so first, before we begin, you want to have a ball, and we're just going to do a quick massage of the foot. So you just want to begin to roll around, finding any areas that need attention. Okay, so stay with anything you need there. And this just kind of wakes our feet up. It's honestly, for me, just a little piece of self-care that I can do in the midst of all the craziness. And then you'll go ahead, before you switch feet, just notice the way one foot feels and then the other, right? And then you'll do the other side. Just waking up your feet. And our feet do so much work when we're pregnant. Man, oh man. All right. Feet are awake. Now we will come to the front of our mat. Let's see. All right. So standing at the front of our mat, we're gonna move through some half sun salutes. So first, notice the way that you're standing, right? Notice where the weight falls, without judgment, just with love, with grace. Notice if all of your weight goes forward or back. Notice if your belly, if you're further along, then maybe your belly is pressing forward. And what I want us to do is begin to bring the outsides of the feet parallel. The further along you get, the wider your feet will get, and that's okay. So now notice where the weight falls and see if you can kind of just rock forward and back and then settle in, grounding through the ball mounts of the toes and through the heel. Standing up tall, rib cage floating above the pelvis. And if you notice the belly is pressing forward, root the tailbone under slightly. Good. And now let's inhale, swoop the arms up. And as you exhale, lower the arms down. Let's move through this a couple of times. Inhale, swooping up, lifting that energy towards the sky. And as you exhale, turn the palms out and press that energy back down. One more time, inhaling up. Exhale. Good. This time we're gonna inhale up, reaching towards the sky. And as we exhale, we'll swoop the arms forward, lowering the body down, lowering the crown of the head towards the floor. Take a moment here. We're moving slowly to begin with. You can let the arms hang, crown of the head hangs. And then we're gonna, on an inhale, reach the heart forward. Exhale, release the crown of the head. You may start to feel your hamstrings stretching out here. Know that hamstring stretches can be helpful with low back pain when we're pregnant. Okay, and now we're gonna inhale, swoop all the way up, reaching the arms up, palms together, lowering them down to heart center. So now we're gonna move through that practice just much quicker. Inhale, swooping the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, reach the heart forward. Exhale, release. And inhale, swooping all the way up. Palms together, lowering down. 2 more times. Inhale, swooping up. Exhale, folding forward. Let the crown of the head hang. Inhale, reach the heart forward. Exhale, release. And inhale, swooping all the way up. Palms together. Good. One last time. Inhale, swooping up. Exhale. Folding forward, let the crown of the head hang. Inhale, the heart forward. Exhale, release the crown of the head. Inhale, swooping all the way up. Palms together, lowering down to heart center. Take a moment here. And then we're gonna swoop our arms up on an inhale. Exhale, folding forward. Let the crown of the head hang here in Uttanasana, our forward fold. Shake the head no and yes. Maybe move the shoulders a little bit. And then we're going to put a generous bend in the knees. And as you inhale, swoop the arms up alongside the ears, coming into chair pose. Really should have had a hair tie for this, huh? So if you can bring the arms alongside the ears comfortably, wonderful, do that. If you find that there is a lot of tension here, then you can lower the arms down, or you can even pull the elbows out. So there are always modifications. And honestly, if your arms are just like, lady, I'm done, I'm tired, then you can always bring the palms of the hands together at heart center, or hands to baby, anything. Okay, breathe here. Big inhale, and as you exhale, we're gonna fold forward. Let the crown of the head hang, and just release here. Feeling that nice stretch through the hamstrings. Put a generous bend in the knees. Inhale, swoop the arms up alongside the ears. Keep breathing. If you notice the mind wandering, just nudge it back, reconnect with your intention. And if you find that this is challenging, I encourage you to continue to challenge yourself, stay with it for as long as you can in a way that feels safe for you. And remind yourself that birth is harder than this. No matter what form of birth is for you, birth is more challenging. Motherhood is more challenging than this. So use this as your practice to breathe deep, to soften. Okay, big inhale. As you exhale, release forward. Take your rest here. And then put a generous bend in the knees, but this time as we inhale, we'll ragdoll up. So hopefully some heat has started building here. And now we're gonna step wide on our mat. So step wide on the mat. So here, if you have pubic symphysis pain, which is that pain right in your pubic bone, like we talked about at the beginning of this class, what I want you to do is just to bring it in a little bit and don't go so deep into this pose, okay? So we're gonna practice Warrior 2 or Virabhadrasana 2. So standing with the feet wide, outsides of the feet start parallel, turn the left toes towards the short end of the mat. Here we want to keep the hips level, right? So let's inhale the arms up to shoulder height. As you exhale, bend through the front knee, no further than the ankle. Okay, notice if your hips are level here. And then if it feels accessible, you can gaze out over your front fingertips, your left fingertips here. I encourage you to connect with your intention and connect with your baby as you breathe deeply here. It is easy for our minds to wander. Let's see if you can just gently nudge your mind back to the mat, back to this space with your little one. And begin to notice too, if there are areas of tension that start to build as we do this practice. And if there are, see if you can inhale deeply into those spaces and exhale, soften away the tension. One more breath here. Good. And now we're going to drop the right hand down to the hip. Now this left hip is going to start to sink down. We're going to begin to reach out over the plane of the left leg, rotating the right shoulder back, letting this left hip begin to sink slightly. Okay? Once you've created lots of space, lots of length through that right side body, you're going to lower the left arm down to the inside of the left thigh and reach the right arm up and over. If you find you have any shoulder issues, you can bring this wider, or you can even just place your hand to your hip, okay? From here, if you want more of a challenge, you can bring your hands down to blocks or to the floor. Although I wouldn't encourage the floor, I'd just encourage blocks at this point, unless you were regularly practicing yoga before, okay? And then you can also, if it feels accessible, gaze up towards the sky. Soften into your breath. On an inhale, reach the arms up, straighten through that front leg, lower the arm down, good. Turn the left toes forward, and we're just gonna fold forward here in between sides. Let the crown of the head hang. Take a nice big breath, soften here. And then go ahead and come on up. And we'll do the other side. So turning the right toes out. Remember, our hips start level, right, with this first pose, Virabhadrasana 1. Okay, inhale, reach the arms up to shoulder height. Exhale, bend through the front knee, no further than the ankle. And then if it feels accessible, gaze out over those right fingertips. Check your hips, are they level? Is the front knee grounded above the ankle? And I can't see myself, so I think I'm doing all right, but you know, Soften here, breathe deeply. If your mind wanders, connect with your baby as a means to bring yourself back. One more inhale, exhale. And now we're gonna drop the left hand down to the hip, coming into Parsvottanasana, the pose we did before. We're gonna begin to reach out over the plane of the right leg now. Noticing this left hip is gonna begin to dip. Reaching, creating lots of space, and then lowering that right arm down to the inside of the right thigh, reaching the left arm up and over the head. Again, if you have shoulder issues, bring it wider or leave your hand on your hip. And if it feels accessible, gaze up towards the sky. Breathe deeply. If this is challenging for you, connect with that practice, preparing for birth and for motherhood. One more breath. And then inhale, reaching up, straightening the leg, turn the toes forward and fold here. And slowly coming up, turn the toes out. And we're going to put a bend in the knee so that the knee is pointed out over the two middle toes. If you notice the knees want to sort of hang in here, rotate the inner thigh upward. Place the hands down to the thigh or to the just on the knee or above the knee on the thigh. Okay, and we're going to inhale deeply. And as you exhale, you're going to let the right shoulder drop forward. Keeping those hips and those knees stable. Inhaling back. Exhale, drop the left shoulder forward. Inhaling back. Exhale. So begin to move at your own breath pace here. Following your own breath, just getting that nice gentle twist. From wherever you're at, you're going to do each side one more time. And then straightening the legs, you can heel toe the feet together. All right, let's see. We're going to do a balancing pose before we come back down. And since I'm not with you, and I get so worried about pubic symphysis, we're gonna stick with a really simple, safe, standing balancing pose. So ground, again in Tadasana, mountain pose. Crown of the head lifting. We're gonna do palm tree. We're first gonna find some fluid movement with this, and then we'll eventually land in it. So let's do it together. We'll inhale, reaching the arms up towards the sky. Begin to lift the heels from the floor. Exhale, slowly lower the heels down, lowering the arms down. Let's do this 2 more times. Inhale, reaching up, lifting the heels, only as far as it feels accessible for you. Exhale, lowering down. One more time. Inhaling up. And exhale. Good. Now we're gonna land in the pose and hold there. Inhale, reaching up, lifting the heels. Good. Notice if you're hunching through the shoulders, and if you are, root the arms down into the shoulder. Oh, and if you're gonna fall over, that's okay. Just catch yourself. So find the space here of balance. Maybe find a focal point. Maybe even challenge yourself and close your eyes. The worst that's gonna happen is our heels will touch the floor, right? This is way harder for me right now than I anticipated it would be. Goodness gracious. All right, one more breath. And exhale, lower the arms down, dropping the heels to the floor. Roll the shoulders out, move your body a little bit, because we are gonna come back down to the mat. So we're gonna do a squat. I'm gonna use a block, but at home, if you don't have a block, If you have other children and you already have a children's stool, I find that a children's stool can be used. I've used that at home before. Maybe disinfect it first if you use it in your bathroom. Or you can get a stack of books that are really stable. Honestly, just go around your house and find something that is of a similar size to this, okay? So we're going to come down onto the block. And you always can take more height or less height, or if you find that squat is really enjoyable for you without the support, that's fine. I just want this to be a restful pose. So the toes out, heels in, knees wide, crown of the head lifting, spine long. We're gonna bring the elbows to the insides of the knees, bring the palms of the hands together. You can close the eyes or set the gaze soft, and we're just gonna breathe deeply and begin to slow back down. Notice if the breath catches and see if you can again begin to let the breath soften into the belly. I encourage you, if this is a wonderful space for you, hit pause on this video and stay with it. I also encourage you to do your squats every day if you can. Let's take another breath together here. And when you're ready, slowly releasing, walking the feet together, and coming off of your block. Good. So we have one last pose before Shavasana. I'm going to show you the propped up prenatal version of this. What I want you to take note of is that at the beginning of pregnancy, you really don't need all the props. It's pigeon pose, and it's a pose at the beginning of pregnancy a lot of people can do without the props. The further along you get, the more room you need for your belly. So that's what these props are for. I obviously don't have a pregnant belly right now, but I still want to make sure that you see it with these types of props. If you don't have a bolster at home, get just a big pillow, or you can take blankets and just fold a few blankets and use the blankets that way. So we'll set the bolster or pillow up. You'll have blocks, or honestly, because this is a restful space, you can also just grab a couple of pillows to put up at the front of your mat. It doesn't have to be like firm blocks or anything. So on hands and knees, we're going to step or swing that left foot forward, okay? You're gonna walk the foot across the mat to then lie the shin down towards the mat so that the left knee is towards the outer edge of the mat. This is a wide pigeon pose, right? Making room for baby. And then we're gonna extend the right leg back. So from here, if you wanna keep this pose active, you can activate through the fingertips, lifting the palms away from the floor. Open through the heart and gaze forward. And then to bring it into a more restorative space, you can bring the elbows down to blocks, pillows, or the floor, and just breathe here. Again, connecting with your deep breath, noticing where the mind has gone, if it has left, and if it did, just slowly bring it back, always with love and with grace. One more breath here. And then we're gonna bring the hands down and move the blocks out of the way. So everybody's different. For people who are earlier in their pregnancies, it might feel fine to just push yourself back onto hands and knees. If you are further along in your pregnancy, what I notice many women do is just swing the back leg around. So you decide how to come out of this pose and which of it serves you best. So let's do the other side now. Okay, on hands and knees. We're gonna step the right foot forward and walk the foot across the mat, bringing the shin down, knee towards the outer edge of the mat. Again, this is wide for pigeon pose, right? And then we're gonna extend the left leg back, squaring the hips towards the floor. From here, if you want to keep it a little bit active, maybe it's morning and you want to stay nice and awake, then you can be here. Or if you need a more restorative space, then just bring the elbows down to blocks, blanket, or floor. And just breathe here. Notice if one side feels tighter than the other. Notice how your body feels. Know that this is a hip opener. So hip openers sort of release some emotions. So if you notice any emotions arising, sit with those, honor them. One more breath here. Good. And then bringing the hands to the floor, finding the way for you to come out of this pose. We're going to head into Shavasana. So Shavasana, when we're pregnant in a prenatal yoga class, looks a little bit different because for most of us, we can't lie on our backs, right? So at home, you'll get all of these props that you need, and I encourage you to have a blanket or a pillow at the top of your mat, and a bolster or a pillow to rest your leg on. So we're gonna lie down on our left side, okay? And as you lay down, you're gonna lace the left arm behind you, sort of tucked in close to the body, lying the head to the blanket. So here, you're gonna scoot your left hip back a little bit so that you can roll that right leg over the bolster so that it's supported. If you are further along, you may want extra bolsters. You may want a little blanket under your belly to support your belly. So use anything that you need, but you should be comfortable here. Good. If there's another pose that feels good for you for Shavasana, I want you to do that. I just want you to do something that you'll be able to rest and relax in. So go ahead, get settled. I'll wait. Good. So wherever you're at, just begin to slow down again. Give yourself permission to be in this quiet space with your baby, just the two of you. Begin to notice the breath easing back to normal. Reconnect with your baby. Reconnect with the intention that you set at the beginning of class. And just begin to let go. Letting go of everything from before right now and everything that's coming in the future. Allow it to just wash away. Allow yourself the room to just be here now, present with your baby. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, gently waking yourself up, taking all the time that you need, and slowly beginning to move into a comfortably seated position. Place one hand to your heart and one hand to your baby. And just take a moment here. Take a moment to honor the process that they are going through. To honor the process that you are going through. And to honor the journey that you're on together. And then quietly, mentally say to yourself, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, and I'm empowered. And I deserve patience, love, and kindness during this deep time of change. And bring the palms of your hands together at heart center. Thank you so much for being present in this practice today. Namaste.